Hey, so today we're looking into where you can start with digital PR link building. I guess there are quite a few different methods, and you got more classic approaches, and then ones that are more centered around links specifically. Really, I wanted to just cover three approaches that have been working for me over the last couple of years for my clients, and also through the agency that I'm a partner with. So we have a managed digital PR link building service, but these are more commonly the types of approaches that we would take, and I think especially for someone who's starting out, these are the approaches that you should be taking to try and get those really high quality digital PR backlinks. So before we actually go into it, I guess it's important to cover why digital PR links are so important. I think especially in the age of we're looking more broadly at brand building, having those references from authority publications and authority sites back to your site are just so important. They sort of vouch for the realness of your business. They vouch for you as an expert. And ultimately, if you're in a niche where not a lot of your competitors are doing this type of link building, then it's really easy to see how you can start to stand head and shoulders above them when it comes to your broader authority of your site and just how much of an authority you appear as a brand. So let's take a look at the first approach. And this is where I would recommend anyone get started if they're looking at digital PR link building. And that is journalist request platforms or just journalist request link building more broadly. And then also tying that into proactive expert commentary. So for example, here, this is my James Taylor SEO site. You can see how I've got links from Shopify, HubSpot, Fiverr, Zapier. These are all done through journalist request platforms or journalist request sites. So whether you're signing up to a newsletter or an email that you get every day, or you're responding within the platform, it's the same thing either way. And you can just sign up to all these different sites and start responding to relevant requests or ones that make sense for you to be responding to as the authority in the sector. So the ones that I focus on from an SEO perspective, so if there's any consultants watching, any agency owners or anyone in a B2B niche, then Help a B2B Writer is consistently one of the best platforms and sort of regular emails that you get from really, really high authority publications. So if you are an expert or you're experienced in a certain sort of B2B niche, then this is a really good one to check out. And also Quoted, so you can see Quoted here. You can filter by different target keywords. You can see who the publications are and just reach out directly within the platform. And that's what I've done here for this client. So a link in the Express, and that was then syndicated to Devon Live, Derby Telegraph. Obviously they're in a niche local carpet cleaning. So not a lot of their competition are doing this type of link building. So it's easy to see how that authority starts to sort of grow quite quickly in sort of lower competition niches. You don't just have to use the request platforms for this either. You can just do manual searches like this one here. I'm a cleaning expert. We could sort this by, let's say, the last month, and we can see which journalists are covering things to do with I'm a cleaning expert. They mentioned cleaning expert in the last month. So we can start to get to an idea of the types of things that journalists cover for that niche specifically, and then also how you can start to position yourself not only as the expert, but as someone who has that little bit of advice to give and tie it to a current event or something that would sort of pique the interest of the journalist. And the same one here. So we could go specifically around different things that you as an expert in the niche would comment on. So for example, here, like car expert warns and MOT. So, if you have a client in that space or your business is in that space, giving commentary on an MOT specifically, but how that would tie into a broader expert commentary piece. So again, we can start to see not only what are the journalists covering, but who are the journalists who are covering these sorts of things consistently. And you can use a tool like Hunter, just to get the email address of those journalists. So you don't necessarily have to be paying for these expensive sort of request platforms or journalist finding platforms where, yes, they're great, but you don't necessarily need to be paying for them when you can just do it manually with something like Hunter, especially when you're starting off and you might not have the budget for tools like Roxhill or Muckrack. What we also like to do as well is like look at the type of things that get covered consistently throughout the year. So you can start to then bank content. So for example, if we know at certain times of the year, when is the most common time that MOTs are up for people, or what are the times of year that people start to do longer road trips, so like around Christmas or Easter. You can start to put those expert commentary guides together ready for when it's, say a week before something like that would get published. And it's just a really nice one that you can jump into and update the commentary based on, the expertise that your client could share. Or just something you could even repurpose the content on your site. I mean, typically it should be unique, and I would recommend that, but you could always repurpose content as well if it was something that was like really, really niche. And then the second approach I would say is around taking data sources and putting league tables together. So for example, there's one here around sort of bathing water safety, so tying that to the summer holidays. And that was literally just taken from this UK environmental data site. You're just basically given a summary of the data and who are the top performers in terms of regions or locations. So, who is the best score for bathing water safety, who has the worst one, and putting that league table together. So you could do it from literally sort of singular data sources, or you could combine it into like an extensive league table like this. So this was one we did around the best cities for women's football in the UK. And this was a really, really interesting one because there's clearly quite a lot of data is available, and you can start to put this league table together of how each location ranks based on things like number of venues, pitch availability, and then what are the average scores around that. And interestingly, it's not always the top ones or the bottom ones will get you coverage. So for example, here with that one, it was Durham, it was the 5th best one. So and there's the release just to show you there what we've done. So summary of the data, nice little infographic, sort of an SEO headline. So ideas for the journalists on like, oh, here's some quick SEO headlines that you can grab if you wanted to use them. And then what the methodology was as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting because you would just think, oh, maybe it's just the top ones who would cover it. But actually having those league tables, it just gives you more opportunities. You can reach out to the top 10 and the bottom 10, or however you want to do it. It is just quite interesting. And to say that, all right, it does take a little bit more time because you're creating individual releases for each location. And obviously each one then has its own batch of journalists to outreach to, but it is definitely worth it. And like I say, it can be quite surprising around who will actually start to cover these things. Not necessarily who would you assume just because they're top one or the bottom one. And then finally, just statistic pieces and sort of more passive data assets. So the reason why I really like these is because it doesn't have to be your data. Your focus is creating the best sort of evergreen piece of content that gets updated throughout the year. And something that is really easy for journalists and publishers to find and just reference as a source. So for example, here with WordStream, their marketing stats page, you can see here they're just referencing where they're finding the data. You've got some PR news wires, that was their own internal link, Local IQ, Obello, Forbes. So you can see it's not just their data. They are internally linking to sources as well. But look at this, like it's great. Like one from Forbes there, just a standout stat. And, just think of it this way. If you were a journalist or publisher, you're quickly looking for a stat. This is a really nice sort of evergreen data hub to get that statistic. And you can see here, 967 referring domains to that page. And as you can imagine, they'll just keep updating that throughout the year as new data is released. And you can see how, Adobe there, quoting the stat, 9% every year, which just goes back to the WordStream blog. So even though it isn't their statistic that they've literally gone and got the data for in terms of it's unique to them, it's because they put together a really useful, extensive resource that makes it as easy as possible for a blogger or a journalist to quickly grab that stat and then they get that reference. So yeah, it was a bit of a whistle-stop tour really. But those are the 3 approaches that I would take. I would say journalist requests bleeding into that more proactive expert commentary style. Those broader league tables, especially if you're in industries that are sort of full of that unique data and you can start to put together ranking different cities based on the worst and the best. And then those more passive statistic pieces and sort of data driven assets that become passive link building assets over time. And you can then start to direct that authority that you've got via internal links to like your money pages or the ones that maybe typically wouldn't get links themselves. If you want help with digital PR, I'll put a link in the description, but we do have this managed productized service for it. And make sure that you head to my consultancy site. And if you sign up to the All About SEO newsletter, I'll send you an email with some free resources, and I'll just be updating that sheet as and when I make new ones. So yeah, make sure you check it out. I hope this was helpful. Any comments, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.